Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor, bringing you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. Welcome to the holiday season. If you're watching this at a later date and time, understand that it is December and we are approaching Christmas in just a few days. The reason I want to bring this video to you now in this holiday season, it is as critical now or maybe more so than ever, because we are often triggered in the holiday season. But if you are watching this later in the future, just know that triggers can happen anytime, and that what we're talking about here is applicable to any time in your life that you feel triggered. So triggers are a beautiful gift, as we have talked about, and they can help us see where we have a wound that needs to be healed. Now, there's something in therapy or in psychology known as the parts work, that each of us are made up of individual parts. And as we go throughout life, as we experience different types of situations, there are parts of us that are developed or evolved to cope with or to be able to survive certain situations. And so when we experience a trigger, whether it's a family member or somebody cuts us off in traffic, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. A trigger is when you notice that you have responded in a more exaggerated way than you might typically to something equivalent or similar. If you find that you have a very activated response, an activated nervous system, that is telling you that you likely have been triggered. And so what we want to do when we are triggered is we want to first and foremost take time, breathe, take the space, walk away from the situation, go into the bathroom, sit in your car, whatever you need to do to take the space and time to be with what just happened. Nothing productive can come from a triggered state. And so the only option we really have, unless we want to create more damage or chaos, is to take that space. And chaos is a perfect word to lead into this, because when we are experiencing two parts of us that are at odds, it can feel like internal chaos. It can feel like there is a battle happening within, that there are two parts of us that are at odds. And so what we want to do is, in that moment where we're feeling triggered and we're thinking about how we're feeling, first and foremost, go into your body and find that sensation in your body. And then next, ask yourself, when did I first feel this way? And likely a certain phase of your life will come to mind, a certain age, likely when you were a child, maybe sometimes a teen. Sometimes there are multiple times where this comes forward. Sometimes it's when you're 5 and sometimes it's when you're 15. But look at that phase, look at that part of you, the 5-year-old in you, the 15-year-old in you, and understand, what were they feeling? What caused them to feel that way? If in this moment you are, say, feeling triggered by, I will use my own example. I am learning from my last video, where we have to be willing to be vulnerable. We have to be willing to be seen, to be humble. That I have recently been triggered by my ex, that there were moments where it seemed that there might be hope. There might be something that could change. They might get therapy. They might get help. They might actually acknowledge their role in the demise of our family. And then, as no one will be surprised to hear, the realization that, of course, that was false hope. Okay, where was I? Of course, it would have been ridiculous for me to truly believe that there was any hope of change after 8 years of working on this. But there's those small parts of us that still want to believe, right? And really what that is, it's the trauma brain, right? The trauma brain wants to hear that this person who should have loved us, whether it's our parent or our partner, that they love us enough. They see us as valuable enough. They value our family enough to fix it, to show up, to be the person that they can be, that we need them to be. All right. And so then taking time to sit with that, what was the trigger? The trigger was my mom didn't show up when I was 16 and I left the house because of our physically abusive stepdad. She let me go. She drove past me on the road, never said hi, never said, how are you? Never said, come home. And even before that, that was the 16-year-old version of me, the part of me that was wounded and triggered in that moment. But there was another part, the 5-year-old version of me. My parents were emotionally unavailable, that they were too busy dealing with their own issues, that I was not seen, I was not heard, I didn't feel loved. And so again, I was feeling abandoned. That 5-year-old version of me felt abandoned, lonely. And so what was triggered in those moments of push and pull and approach and avoid, maybe, maybe not, maybe, maybe not, that feeling of they're not going to show up for me. I'm going to be abandoned again. And while the rational mind understands, and the trauma healing has been done extensively around these topics and issues, we still can notice, we can still honor the parts of us that show up in those moments where we feel the trauma brain is stepping forward instead of the way we want to show up. Right? So the way we would want to show up in that type of situation is thank you, no thank you. I've seen plenty of evidence that suggests this is not changing. I'm not going to self-abandon. I'm not going to put myself in a situation that is knowingly not healthy. Right? That's the strong part of me. That's the conscious, healed, aware part of me that is here now and presenting. We want to lead with that part, but it's okay when the trauma brain steps in and tries to remind us of why we should be hurting or in pain. It's okay when the 5-year-old part of us says we've been abandoned again. It's okay when the 16-year-old part of us says they didn't show up for us. It's okay. We want to honor those parts because they were developed for a reason. They helped us survive. They helped us get through. And so when you visit your family over the holidays, over the next couple of days, when you're in your hometown and your old friends who have not progressed and not grown, trigger those old parts of you. Make space for them, love on them, take time to be with them, and remember that they are there because you needed them and they saved you. They helped you survive. They were a gift, even in that moment long ago, as much as they are now. So I also want to call your attention to 3 categories of parts and subsequent variations of those parts that show up. Right. And this is known in parts therapy, which is used for trauma healing. That, if I could find this, I didn't set it up, so apologize. Give me a second here. The 3 types of parts that will show up for us is the exiled part, a manager, and a firefighter. The exiled part carries the burden of the trauma, right? So it's the part of us that we exile, right? That 5-year-old exiled who she was because she was not enough for her parents to show up for her, right? Then the manager works to stay in control of the vulnerable feelings by working hard to working hard or manifesting as a relentless inner critic, right? So that manager is blaming the 5-year-old part, the exiled parts, right? Blaming the exiled part, criticizing the exiled part, trying to justify away or come up with reasons why. It's managing the exiled part. If we're aware and conscious of these traumatized parts of us, we can recognize them and see who's stepping forward. And then that will help us understand what their intention is and how we can love on all of the parts and bring forward our healed, conscious, aware, in this conscious moment part so that we can be sort of the parent to all of those parts, right? And then the firefighter part is the one that acts out. It acts out with addictions or self-harming behaviors in order to prevent the exiled part from emerging. Again, the exiled part is deemed the negative part, and the manager or the firefighter are there to manage them, to keep them under control, to keep them from essentially causing more pain, is the belief. And so ways that this can show up is, again, through perfectionism. We've talked about that a little bit lately. Self-aggression, through regression, self-sabotage, or pervasive shame. Now, if you want to know more about that, let me know, drop a comment below, and I can send you a link to more detailed information about how those show up. Another way to look at this is those are sort of the traumatized parts of us. We also have archetypes within us, other parts, right? Hold on just a second. The flu keeps going around our house and this coughing is pervasive, so I apologize. I have to pause when that comes forward. So like I was saying, the other parts of us, we all have archetypes within us. You will have a warrior, you will have a lover, you will have a jester, a joker, you'll have a musician, you'll have a king, you'll have a queen, you'll have an artist, you'll have whatever parts of you that you identify with or you notice coming forward in you. You want to spend time with them, get to know them, identify them, and consciously start to bring them forward. Now, actors are often really good at putting on a persona and embodying or becoming that persona. We all have that ability to some extent. If you've ever said that, you know, I can walk into a room and I can sense who they need me to be, and I can become that person. One, that's a trauma response. It's called wearing a mask. But two, we all to have that ability to some extent that we can become the queen. We can become the musician or magician. Apparently, both of those wanted to come through. We can also become the victim. We can become that triggered 5-year-old version of ourselves. We can consciously choose to tap into all of the different parts of us and start to work with them consciously. Now, of course, I will reiterate something I say frequently. No amount of negativity is ever beneficial to any extent for any reason under any circumstances. Negativity is never beneficial under any circumstances. No amount of toxic self-blame, the inner critic, self-judgment, any of it, it's not helpful. The only thing that will allow us to grow and evolve and heal and move into self-actualization, the highest version of ourselves, becoming that conscious, purpose-driven entrepreneur, is love, is acceptance, is a willingness to say, I hear you, I see you, I respect and honor where you are at. Now let's move forward together. What do you need right now? How can we meet that need with healthy levels of discipline and action? Okay. All right. Is there anything else that wants to come through here? Just remember the trigger as a gift. Remember the trigger as a gift. Running from it will keep the trigger there, will keep the trauma in the body, will keep the program of self-sabotage or overwhelm or shutdown. But facing it, being with it, going through the valley is what will lead to the joy, the peace, the fulfillment, the abundance that you seek on the other side. Triggers are the key, as well as your inner child, which includes those parts. Okay. I love you, my friends. Happy holidays to all of you. May you make the best of it and come out healthy on the other side. If you want to know more about why these energies can be challenging, check out the video that we posted yesterday around the density, the explanation of the heaviness that can come with this season. It is more than what they have been telling us. All right. I love you, my friends. Like, subscribe, and share if you know anybody that can benefit from this. Otherwise, I will see you on the next video. Namaste. I love you.